The late afternoon sun hung low over the highway, turning the air into a hazy sheet of gold. Cars crawled in two long lines, brake lights blinking like red fireflies as the rush hour built. Engines hummed, horns occasionally blared, and somewhere in the middle of it all, a lone motorcycle wove through the gaps with careful, practiced speed. The rider's name, at least on the app, was Leo Cruz. He wore a light-colored jacket and a white helmet, a square gray delivery bag strapped firmly to the back of his bike. On the screen mounted near his handlebars, a timer counted down in bright red digits. 0714, 0713. It was his last order of the day, a delivery that would mean a small bonus if he made it on time. To anyone watching, he was just another exhausted gig worker racing against an algorithm. But inside the delivery bag, under the insulated lining, was something more important than food. Tiny cameras and audio recorders, all humming silently. He wasn't just a rider. He was an undercover NBI agent on his third week of quietly circling this highway checkpoint. Ahead, a line of traffic slowed as flashing blue and red lights came into view. A police car sat angled across one lane, forcing vehicles to merge. Cones marked off a small inspection point where a uniformed cop flagged down select motorists. Some were waved through after a brief chat, others were held a little longer. Leo had watched this pattern for nights now, memorizing faces, words, gestures. Tonight, it was time to push just a little further. The cop on duty was Officer Ramon de los Reyes, thick-necked, square-jawed, his dark blue uniform snug across his chest. Under the warm light, the badge on his cap glinted like a small sun. In one hand, he held a flashlight he didn't really need. In the other, a rolled-up stack of tickets. Leo eased off the throttle as he approached, letting the bike roll to a stop behind a silver sedan. Sweat clung to his neck under the helmet, but his breathing stayed steady. He reminded himself of the cover story, of the script he'd rehearsed. He reminded himself to look tired, nervous, but not too nervous. The sedan ahead of him moved on. Officer Reyes stepped into the lane and raised a hand. "Motorcycle, pull over to the side," he barked. Leo guided his bike out of the traffic flow and onto the shoulder, the delivery bag jostling lightly. Behind him, drivers craned their necks to see what would happen. One or two phones lifted discreetly, just in case. Reyes walked up, eyes raking over Leo's helmet, jacket, and worn gloves. "License and registration," he said. Leo flipped up his visor, revealing a face lined with just enough fatigue to sell the part. "Yes, sir," he replied, forcing a small swallow into his voice. He dug into his pocket slowly, producing his license and the bike's papers. His hands shook, not from fear, but from the adrenaline he'd learned to control and redirect. The officer snatched the documents, glancing at them only briefly before tucking them under his arm. "You know why I stopped you?" he asked. "I'm not sure, sir. Traffic was slow. I wasn't speeding." Reyes tilted his head, squinting as if he'd spotted a problem no one else could see. "You were weaving, reckless driving, could have sideswiped someone, and your plate light is dim. Could charge you for that too." Leo fought the urge to point out that his plate light was fine because it was, but this wasn't about facts. It never was. "I'm sorry, sir," he said instead. "I'm just trying to finish my last delivery. I can be more careful." "Sorry?" Reyes echoed, the corner of his mouth twitching. "Sorry doesn't change the violations. That's a big fine, Ryder. Maybe even impound if I feel like it." He let the words hang in the thick, hot air. Horns honked behind them. A car crept by, its driver staring openly before rolling the window up again. Leo shifted on his seat, playing his part. "Sir, please," he said softly. I can't afford a fine right now. I'll lose my job if I don't finish this order." Reyes took a half step closer, his voice dropping to a conversational murmur that didn't match the hardness in his eyes.
"Well," he said, "we don't want that, do we?" He tapped the stack of tickets against his leg. "There are other ways we can fix this." Leo looked up, feigning confusion. "Sir?" The officer glanced around theatrically, as if checking for anyone who might be listening, then leaned closer to the helmet's open visor. "Maybe you show a little appreciation for my time, and I appreciate your situation. Understand?" There it was, clear, direct, recorded. Inside the delivery bag, one of the tiny devices flagged the key word the NBI team had been waiting for. A timestamp logged the moment. Leo swallowed. "I don't have much money, sir," he murmured. Reyes shrugged. "You've got enough for a little something. You riders always do. Cash, no receipt, or I can start writing." He reached casually toward his belt, as if ready to pull out his pen, yet something in the gesture felt like a threat. Leo knew the operation called for patience. His instructions were clear: collect clear evidence, don't break cover, don't escalate. But agents were still human, and as he sat there on the hot asphalt, listening to the contempt in Reyes's voice, something heavy stirred in his chest. "How many riders did you do this to this week?" he asked, quietly, dropping the forced tremble. "What did you say?" "I said, how many riders did you ask for appreciation from this week?" The officer's grip tightened on the flashlight. "Watch your tone," he growled. "You think I won't put you face down on this road?" A few cars had now fully stopped, drivers staring at the confrontation. One woman held her phone higher, clearly recording. A man leaned out of his window, frowning. Leo took a breath. "No, sir," he said. "I think you'll do exactly what you always do when someone doesn't pay." Reyes's jaw clenched. "Get off the bike," he ordered. Leo didn't move. "I said get off the bike!" the officer shouted, his voice erupting across the highway. Before Leo could swing his leg over, Reyes grabbed him by the front of his jacket and yanked. The bike tipped, the delivery bag slamming into the asphalt. Leo landed hard on his side, pain flaring along his shoulder. The helmet saved his head, but his vision blurred for a second. The officer's shadow fell over him. "Resisting, huh? Let's see you resist this." He drew his fist back. For a split second, he caught the faces around them, drivers frozen, eyes wide, a teenager in the back seat of a car, mouth hanging open, the woman with the phone shaking but still filming. He knew the NBI team was monitoring his devices, but response time was never instant. Right now, in this moment, it was just him, the asphalt, and a cop whose power had sunk too deep into his bones. The punch came down, clipping Leo across the cheek. Pain exploded, bright and sharp. I heard someone scream. I tasted iron. "Stop!" a driver shouted. "Hey, he's down!" Reyes grabbed Leo's collar again, fist rising for another blow. Something inside Leo went very still. "Do it," he said, voice suddenly calm. "Hit me again, Officer Reyes."
The cop hesitated mid-swing, thrown off by the composed tone. "You asking for it?" he spat. Leo's eyes behind the scratched visor were no longer tired. They were cold, razor-sharp. "Every second you keep this up," he said evenly, "my backup gets more footage. Every word, every hit. You really want internal affairs and the NBI watching this in high definition?" The name dropped like a stone into a still pond. Reyes blinked. "What did you say?" Leo twisted, breaking the officer's grip with a practiced move that no ordinary delivery rider would know. He rolled to one knee, keeping his hands up but steady, non-threatening. His cheek was already swelling, but his voice didn't shake. "You heard me," he said quietly. "NBI, National Bureau of Investigation, Covert Operations Division." He reached slowly, deliberately, for the zipper of his jacket. "Left inner pocket," he said aloud, "for the cameras, for the recording devices, for the witnesses. Identification." Reyes froze, indecision flashing across his face. If this was a bluff, it was a bold one. If it wasn't... Leo pulled out a slim leather wallet and flipped it open. Inside, behind a clear plastic window, the badge caught the sunlight. An NBI shield, official and unmistakable, next to his real name and photo. The woman with the phone gasped, "Oh my God, he's legit!" A murmur rose among the motorists. Engines idled. No one drove away now. Behind them, another patrol car finally arrived. Lights blazing, siren briefly whooping before cutting off. 2 officers stepped out, hands instinctively on their belts. They saw Leo kneeling, Reyes looming, the scattered delivery bag, the ring of cars. Their eyes went to the badge in Leo's hand. "What's going on here?" one of them demanded. Leo didn't look away from Reyes. "Undercover operation," he said calmly. "Agent Lionel Cruz, NBI. I've been tracking reports of extortion and physical abuse at this checkpoint." He gestured slightly toward his fallen bike. "Officer Reyes here just provided us with the last piece of evidence we needed." Reyes's face had gone pale. You can't be serious," he stammered. He's lying. He's resisting. Everything's recorded," Leo cut in. "On my equipment, on that driver's phone, on the dash cams. You demanded a bribe. You threatened me. You assaulted me while I was unarmed and compliant." The second patrol officer's gaze shifted to Reyes, eyes hardening. "Ramon," he said slowly, "tell me you didn't... These riders always..." He sputtered, grasping at excuses that felt suddenly thin in the heavy evening air. Leo stood carefully, testing his leg. "Officer," he said to the newcomers, slipping his badge back into his jacket. "Camera on," he confirmed. He looked at Reyes. "Hand over your weapon and badge, Ramon." Reyes shook his head in disbelief. You're taking his side?" he demanded. "Over mine?" "I'm taking the side of procedure," the officer replied grimly, "and from where I'm standing, you just hit a verified NBI agent on the side of a public road while half the city watched." Reluctantly, hands shaking, Reyes unholstered his gun and unpinned his badge. He placed them in his colleague's outstretched hand, the clink of metal against leather sounding like the closing of a door. As they led him away, some drivers rolled down their windows. "About time," someone muttered. "That guy's been shaking people down for months. I'm glad someone did something." Leo exhaled, the adrenaline finally ebbing. His cheek throbbed, his shoulder ached, but inside a different feeling settled, part justice, part weary sadness. One of the drivers climbed out of his car, the woman with the phone still at his side. "Sir, do you need a hospital? We saw everything." Leo gave a small, tired smile. "I'll get checked, but thank you for not looking away." As the traffic slowly resumed and officers redirected cars around the scene, Leo stood beside his scratched bike, the sun dipping lower behind him. He knew this case would be just one file among many, one bad cop in a system with plenty of good ones and too many silent ones. But he also knew that every exposure, every recorded abuse, every moment someone said enough mattered. Later, when the story hit the news, delivery rider revealed as undercover NBI agent after highway assault, people would share it with outrage and relief. Some would cheer. Others would quietly remember times they'd paid appreciation money at checkpoints and wonder if they should have spoken up sooner. For now, as dusk settled over the highway, Leo Cruz adjusted his helmet, wincing at the bruise on his cheek. The delivery app on his phone still flashed an overdue order notification, as if nothing important had ever happened. He silenced it. Some deliveries, he thought, were more important than arriving on time. Some were about bringing the truth, no matter how painful, straight to the doorstep of corruption and forcing it to answer under the light of day.